Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from anthonymorganti.com. This is episode 13 of Photoshop for Photographers. In this episode, we're going to create a panorama. Now, those of you that watch my videos probably remember that in my Learn Lightroom 5 video series, episode 19, I created this panorama from these four images. Now, this video I'm going to do it slightly differently. You may remember that to get this final product, I had to do a lot of cropping because when you merge to Panorama in Photoshop, you get a lot of transparent pixels along the outside of the finished product, and you have to crop it when you're done. Well, I'm going to show you a method where you're going to do little to no cropping. Now, it doesn't work on all scenes, and we'll talk about what scenes it's good for and what scenes it won't work in a minute. But I'm going to show you how to do it. And I'm going to do these four images again. But before I do that, I'm going to do these two images of the skyline of Buffalo, New York. And the reason why I'm going to do this first is there's only two images, and the merge to panorama will go a lot quicker. So those of you that just want to learn this method and get out and try it for yourself, you could learn it by these two images. But those, you're of course welcome to stay to see me do the final four images on that second panorama. Now, again, because this is a Photoshop for Photographers video, I'm not going to show you all the processing I did in Lightroom to prep these images for the panorama. If you don't know what I did, or you're not familiar with how to prep images for a panorama, you should watch that episode 19 of my Learn Lightroom 5 video series. Now, I'm going to select both of these down here in the film strip. If you don't use Lightroom and you're using Bridge, you would do the exact same thing. You would just select both of the images, and to select them, you would hold the Command key if you have a Mac, Control key if you have a PC, and click on each one individually that you want to send over to the panorama. And in Bridge or in Lightroom, then what you would do is right-click on either of them, go up to Edit In, and go down to Merge to Panorama in Photoshop. Now, what's going to happen is Lightroom is going to send the two images into Photoshop, and then this dialog box pops up. And you can see on the far left it has the layout pre-selected as auto. I suggest you just leave it as that. If it doesn't come out well, you could do it over and try one of these other choices. But I found that if auto doesn't work, usually nothing is going to make it work. So just leave it on auto and give it a go. You want blend images together checked. Now, vignette removal and geometric distortion correction, I did that in Lightroom already, so I do not have to check them here. If you didn't do it in Lightroom, or you didn't do it in Adobe Camera Raw, then you'll have to check these two boxes. It'll make a better panorama. It just takes longer to merge the images. Okay, we're going to click OK. Now, the cool thing about this is Photoshop doesn't alter any of the pixels in the original images. It actually just creates layer masks and merges the resulted images into a panorama with the use of layer masks. So I thought that's pretty cool. Now, it just takes a second, and now as you can see, when we do the second group, it's going to take much longer because there's four images. That's why I did these two first. Now, there's our finished product, and as I mentioned, we have a lot of transparent pixels all around the outside of the image. And I'm going to show you a method how we could use the content aware features of Photoshop to fill in these blank spaces. Now, before I do that though, we have to merge these layers together. And what I like to do is I like to merge them and put a merge layer on top, so I'm not really messing with these two layers. So to do that, it's a really crazy keyboard shortcut. If you have a Mac, it's Shift Option Command E. If you have a PC, it's Shift Alt Control E. And it puts a merge layer on top of the layer stack. Now that is done, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Magic Wand tool. You can see we have the Quick Selection tool and the Magic Wand tool gang together in this little cubby hole. So we're going to pick Magic Wand tool. We're going to want to use a point sample tolerance around 31, that's the default value. But the important setting here is make sure contiguous is not checked. Then just go down and click on anywhere on the transparent pixels, anywhere at all. And just click once. And I don't know if you could see the marching ants, but they're all around all the transparent pixels. So it automatically selected all this transparent area. Now what we want to do is we want to go up to Select, we want to go to Modify, and we want to go to Expand. And you want to expand it by exactly 4 pixels, and do not check that checkbox. So just 4 pixels, click OK. Now we want to go to Edit, Fill, and we want to use Content Aware. So in this drop down box, pick Content Aware. We do not check either of these checkboxes. We have the blending on normal, 100% opacity, and click OK. Now it's just going to take a second as it interpolates the areas around the selection, and it comes up with a surreal look at what we just did. I guess surreal is not a correct word, but kind of a fake world. So we're going to deselect this by hitting Command or Control D, and you can see it did a really awesome job. And there actually is a fork in the road right here, so it did a really nice job there. Now you might see there's a little bit of kind of weird ghosting right here. Now I'm not going to do it now, but you could use like the healing brush and come in here, or you could use the clone stamp tool and you could fix that up in no time. But as you can see, it did a great job on this panorama. So now the easiest way I've found to get the stuff back into Lightroom, if you're going back into Lightroom, is just go up to Photoshop and quit Photoshop. And it's going to come up with, do you want to save the changes? And we're going to just click Save. Now it takes a second to save it. Then what it will do is it will shut down Photoshop and it will put your panorama automatically in Lightroom. And you can see it's right there between the 2 images. And as you can see, there's that little part right there that you could, as I mentioned, use either the clone stamp tool or the spot healing brush or something like that to clean that up, and that's no big deal. It might be a little bit tiny in this corner here, but no big deal. All right, now we're going to go on to these 4 images. Now this one's a little more challenging because we have a lot of brick in the area here. So I'm going to click on the first one, and because there's multiple ones, I'm not going to hold the Command or Control key in and click each one individually. I'm just going to hit the Shift key, hold the Shift key in, and click on the last one to select them all. We're going to right click, we're going to go up to Edit In, and we're going to go to Merge to Panorama in Photoshop. Now again, it's going to reopen Photoshop, and it's going to come up with that dialog box, and I'm going to keep the settings exactly the same. Auto, blend images together, and those 2 choices are going to be not checked, and we're going to click OK. Now this is going to take a little longer, so I'm going to take this opportunity to just mention the computers I use, because I get a lot of questions about my computers. I do all the videos on my Retina Display MacBook Pro. I bought it when the Retina displays came out, so maybe 2 years ago, and it's got an SSD drive. I think it's 256 gigabytes, so it's not huge. It has 16 gigabytes of memory, and it has the fastest processor that was available at that time. Now, I have an iMac that I just bought maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and that one is actually more powerful than this machine. It's a 27 whatever they are, 27.5 inch, the larger iMac, and it has 32 gigabytes of RAM. It has a 3 terabyte hybrid drive, and it's super fast. So I actually do all my Photoshop and Lightroom on my iMac. I really don't do it on the MacBook Pro unless I absolutely have to. I like to do the videos on the MacBook Pro because it's a smaller screen. You could see, as you're viewing my video, you could see what I'm doing a lot easier. The bigger screen, everything is smaller, so it's kind of the opposite of what might be intuitive. All right, now we have these transparent pixels again. Not as many this time. So we're going to go up oh, before I do that, now I have to get that flattened image on top. So since I have a Mac, I'm going to hit Shift Alt or Shift Option Command E. If you have the PC, it's Shift Alt Control E, and it does that flatten layer on top. And we're going to go up to the Magic Wand tool. Remember, make sure contiguous is not checked, and we're going to click on those transparent pixels. It selected them. Now we're going to go up to Select, Modify, Expand. We're going to expand exactly 4 pixels. Click OK. Then we're going to go to Edit, Fill. We want Content Aware. These 2 checkboxes are not checked. Normal mode, 100% opacity. Click OK. Now this is going to take a little longer. Now, I mentioned this doesn't work on all scenes. Let's say you have a road and there's trees and light poles and there's stop signs, and it's in your panorama as you go across. It's not going to be able to really make that road flow naturally through the shot. So what you really need is something with a repetitive pattern that is really, really repetitive. Now, as you can see, it did a decent job here. I'm going to hit Command or Control D to deselect. And you can see it did kind of bring some of the bottom parts of the graffiti up here, but actually I don't think it looks that bad, and it actually looks kind of natural. You can see the bricks are all really well done. We have like repaired bricks, it looks like, in the middle here, and it looks like we just have more repaired bricks up here. So actually I think it did a really, really nice job. So I'm going to bring it back over to Lightroom. I'm going to hit Photoshop, Quit, and I'm going to click on Save. And again, it's going to do what it did for the Buffalo waterfront. It's going to just bring it, save it. Now it's a really large file, so it's going to take a little while, and brings it over into Lightroom. Now I don't think it did a bad job at all. You might want to argue about this, but I thought it actually in a way did a better job than it did with the water. And here was the other one that I did last time. Now you can see the colors are a little richer in this one. That's because I processed it some more after it came back into Lightroom. I probably turned vibrance up and things like that. So there's that one, and you can see I think it's totally acceptable. It's really up to you, but you might want to give it a try. But as I mentioned, it won't work if you have spots at the top and bottom of your frame that are kind of unique, that aren't repeating themselves. So in this case, at the top and bottom, I had repeating series of bricks and a kind of repeating, or like this ivy is kind of predictable where it's going. And in the Buffalo waterfront, I had sky and I had water below it, so it was easy to interpolate that. Again, if you have anything more complicated than that, you have people, you have streets, like as I mentioned, with trees and street lights and things like that. It won't do a good job on that. But it's something you might want to try. It might work on some of the scenes you do. All right, so that's it for episode 13. I'd like to thank everyone that watches my videos. I truly do appreciate it. If you guys could do me a favor and take the time to go over to YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel, I'd really appreciate that. And share the video and like the video. All right, thank you very much. Talk to you soon.